Well, there you go. Game 1, Toronto Blue Jays. How fired up is everybody? I'm ready to go. I'm ready for Game 2. Welcome to the Saturday morning edition of Locked On Blue Jays.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, for all the Dodger fans that were in our comment section, I'm assuming some Yankee fans as well, I'm going to need some comments run back a little bit. There were sweeps being called. There was, you guys don't stand a chance. Welcome to the 2025 Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays fans, give a little celebration. You're allowed to celebrate wins. Yes, there's a long series to come, and I'm sure it's going to be very hard. And you know, these guys are going to have to work their butts off. But you have to enjoy every win that comes with it. So, applaud it to all of you. For some of you that were in our live stream yesterday, we're going to have another live stream later today and an episode coming out on Sunday morning. So, I mean, I don't know. A lot of content coming from the boys here. It's going to be an absolute blast. Probably get into a couple beers later tonight. This is a little offshoot pod. We hope you guys enjoy. But Carter, my man, it was an absolute hit parade for the Toronto Blue Jays. You know, we said the one main thing was get to the starting pitching early. And that doesn't necessarily mean score a ton of runs on the starters. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to hit up on them. You just have to wear that pitch count down and get them out of the game so you get to that Dodgers bullpen. Look what happens when you do. You got to love this, don't you? Daulton Varsho. Goodbye, dead center. Thank you very much. Addison Barger, first pinch hit grand slam in the World Series.
It was a first pitch home run, too. It would have worked out anyway.
Here we go. Thanks for that. I appreciate that one. And Alejandro Kirk adds on top a complete team effort. Carter, my man, we'll start with the offense. We're definitely going to talk Bo Bichette because we have to. I loved it. And then we're going to talk some pitching, some of the bullpen usage, and then tee you guys up for Game 2 coming later today. But where do you want to start? Whose home run do you want to start with? I'm good with anybody.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's interesting that John Schneider loves the platoon advantage so much because we got two different lefty-lefty home runs in this game. The Daulton Varsho one's absolutely insane. Again, Blake Snell, one of the best lefties in all baseball. The first at-bat, especially with how that went down, absolutely horrific. Just a force-fed off-speed pitches, that entire at-bat. 4 pitches, kind of see you later. Really a pop-out. It went to the outfield, but I mean, like, not a very good swing. And then Varsho probably waiting on a fastball. His next AB absolutely crushes 1-2 dead center. And then Anthony Banda making one more Toronto Blue Jays memory for him, maybe a few years later, but a slider that hangs to Addison Barger. Again, a lefty-lefty matchup. Addison Barger does not miss that. The Rogers Center roof blows off the building. Addison Barger's fired up. My head almost hits the ceiling. Brayden's head almost hits the ceiling as well. Just absolutely incredible stuff. And again, I was hoping for a Toronto Blue Jays win. I knew the offense had this in them, but coming against a Los Angeles Dodgers pitching staff, coming against Blake Snell, Emmett Sheehan, thanks again. You know, Anthony Banda, thanks for coming out as well, buddy. But 11 runs against the Dodgers pitching staff for a pitching staff that was unbelievable in the NLDS and even better in the NLCS. Doesn't matter when you run into the juggernaut Blue Jays offense.
No, absolutely not. I guarantee you we're going to have Dodger fans in here. And we're not saying the series is over by any stretch of the means. This is going to be hard and is going to be long and grueling. So we're not sitting here saying it's over. I don't want any comments that these guys are, you know, out to lunch. We're not. We get it.
Well, they're out to lunch with just discounting the Toronto Blue Jays to the point that they were. Like a lot of people were saying sweep Game 5, like 5-game series. They're out to lunch with discounting the Toronto Blue Jays. Like, we know the Dodgers are good. Jays fans know the Dodgers are good. Jays fans know the Blue Jays are pretty goddamn good too. So clearly they proved that in Game 1 of the World Series. Yeah,
exactly. But we're allowed to celebrate a victory, right? You're allowed to celebrate a win. And nobody's popping champagne quite yet. But it sets this Blue Jays team up nicely. And we'll get more into that later. But Carter, the one biggest thing I think that we're not going to be talking about as much as we should be, because there were some monster home runs. It's some of the little play by some of the other guys. Ernie Clement doing his job as usual. I mean, getting tagged out at 3 there on a bad run, bad decision. But I don't want to focus on that too much because it was a huge win. But I hope that doesn't rear its ugly head once more again in this series, because you can't let that happen. That's a drive killer. that is a moment that could come back and really bite you when you look back at the game. But Carter, I can't wait anymore. I can't do it. I want to talk about Bichette. I really do. His defensive play, he makes a play up the middle, sort of ranging back as he makes that throw as well. Really nice play. Yes, he looked a little clunky, I want to say. I don't think it was bad. It was just clunky. Like it seemed like he was getting his body moving again into some positions that you wouldn't normally, in training or trying to get your body healthy again. That's not something a play you usually would make. So good on him for that. But then with the bat as well. I mean, he comes up big with the walk, 1 for 2. But the walk is really what started the whole big series for the Toronto Blue Jays that scored them a million runs. So I really did want to give him a shout out. I didn't love that they pulled them where they did, but it turns out that it works out in the end. They get a bunch of runs and they get a better second baseman defensively in IKF out there. So it all works out in the end. Didn't love the early pull of them, though.
That's what I want to talk about, actually, though, is that early pull, because it does work out all in the end, but it's the 6th inning. It's a leadoff walk by Bichette. You're throwing IKF. IKF is now in the cleanup spot from the 6th inning on, and this is a tie baseball game. Like, they're not up 9-2 at this point. They're not up anything. Like, it is, there's one runner on first base with no outs. So I think, like, if you're going to have Bichette play in this game, we've all agreed, obviously, that the reason that Bichette is here is to play offense, is to be in the lineup. So I get he's not very good defensively, but if you're going to pull him that quickly for IKF to go into the 4 spot, that's something that is not going to be a recipe for success. I know the Dodgers bullpen isn't good, but the Jays bullpen has their faults as well. The Dodgers lineup is very good. I don't love that decision in a game 1 there, pulling Bichette that early. If it's later on, if it's the 9th inning, even the 8th inning, sure.
Totally.
But the 6th inning for me is way too early of a pull for Bichette there. What happens if IKF comes up in the 9th inning and it's still like a close game? And instead of Bichette, I know IKF was good in the ALCS, but you have IKF in that big clutch hitting spot. Like, that's just not something that I want to see again.
To me, there can only be one reason for this, and it's not the defensive substitution, because you don't make a defensive substitution in a tie ball game. That does not happen. To me, this is, hey, we don't want to make Bichette have to slide because we're worried about what that is going to do to his body. And after you see him make the defensive play, I think everybody gave a little bit of sigh of relief. Like,
it looked a little weird, that whole play. Like, it was a nice play, but it looked a little awkward.
It did, but it didn't look like he was in pain. It more was just,
it was like he was proceeding with caution almost. It was like, there was a yellow stoplight. He was yielding in that moment there.
That's a great, I don't even know, analogy, I guess. But that's exactly what it seemed like. And I just think maybe they wanted to avoid a sliding situation where something else could have gone wrong. But if you're playing them, play them. I don't know. And then, you know what? After that inning, when it all goes well and they score a bunch of runs.
Yeah, you're not going to care.
Make the pull. Absolutely. Sure. Great. But it worries me for what's about to come, I guess, in the next bunch of games. Who else do you want to get into, Carter? I don't want to spend a ton of time on each guy in particular because there were a lot of great performances tonight.
I kind of just want to go over that inning. You scored 9 runs in an inning. Like, that's something I feel like we can definitely break down. So Bichette, gets that leadoff walk. Alejandro Kirk with a very nice single as well. Daulton Varsho working another very good at-bat, ends up getting hit with the ball. Some people are saying, oh, was that on purpose? Was it not? Clearly, it's not on purpose. It's the World Series that loaded the bases. So, I mean, just with right there, obviously, that's not a situation where you want to load the bases because you got Ernie Clement coming up, and just a beautiful swing by Ernie Clement. You saw it earlier in this baseball game where he was literally golfing at the baseball and he still served it into left field. This is another one where he kind of shortens up his swing, the back foot, almost like a Scotty Scheffler kind of weird thing with the driver's swing, where his back foot's flying out there. But again, just nice compact swing. Doing a job once again, Ernie Clement, just one of my favorite players to watch in all of the major leagues. There's never going to be a moment that's like beneath Ernie Clement. He's going to do everything that he possibly can and always put forward his full amount of effort. So that's what you absolutely love to see. And then even going to Nathan Lucas, like coming off of a pinch hitting appearance, just working the count, working that walk, the little bat flip he did off that walk as well, scoring a run. Yeah, you bat flip that one. That's 100%. I am all in on that. One at bat by Nathan Lucas, Andres Gimenez, getting the job done as well. And then, you get Addison Barger, obviously, in that number 2 spot. Great call by John Schneider. Pretty obvious. David Schneider didn't look great in that 2 spot. Maybe that's something that I don't know. You probably won't want to discuss because it's not looking great, unfortunately, for the future. And again, you don't have any really lefties coming up, so I don't expect to see David Schneider in that number 2 spot. But what an inning. 9 runs in an inning against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Unforgettable moment.
Yeah, it really was. It was pretty awesome. And I think that game is going to live in some Blue Jays fans' head. I'm sure Addison Barger we'll keep a picture somewhere on his mantle of that moment. I would hope so, because what an amazing moment. A record, or for the first time it's ever happened, so you might as well.
I
Just
feel
a
like
really
every
good
game this like postseason has come with like a franchise record, MLB record, Blue Jays record. It's just, this is a record-breaking team, it feels like.
It really is. It's got that magic to it, right? And that's, I remember it was something that I said a lot on yesterday's podcast, and you said it actually sitting on the couch with me. So you're right. It feels a little magical. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about the starting pitching, the bullpen usage, how it's going to affect the following games, and then we'll tee up game 2 for you guys as well right after this short break.
Today's episode is sponsored by Bichette. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've heard them all before. It's just stress, or I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Bichette comes into play. Bichette offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's all about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. So you can visit rugiet.com/lockedonmlb to get 15% off your first order. That is rugiet.com/lockedonmlb. And don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONMLB so that they know that we sent you. Bichette, stop making excuses and start making moves.
So, Carter, as we continue, we talked a little bit about Trey Yesavage yesterday on the post-game broadcast that we did. I shouldn't call it a broadcast, post-game live.
It's new for us.
We
get a little bit of leeway here.
Thanks. We'll get into, I want to talk bullpen usage. That's got to be a big conversation, because this team did some interesting things. And I was happy because I think a lot of them were the right decisions here in this type of environment game, right? You didn't have to use Hoffman, and you didn't have to use Louis Varland. And I think that is massive, right? Louis Varland's pitched a ton in this postseason. To give him a little bit more of a rest and a break to get ready, I think is a good thing in the long haul. And I know maybe he's a guy that just loves being out there every day, and that's okay too, but you're going to wear out. And I think a nice another game break for those two specifically is going to prove massive in the long run here.
See, and for me, like when it's over a full season, I don't really care for like the argument that, oh, if you see a pitcher too many times, like it's really going to matter. However, when you have a 7-game series against a team and you see a pitcher 2, 3, 4, in Louis Varland's case, maybe all 6 times, for the future of this series, like at some point the familiarity does matter, and it does impact an at bat. If you've seen, the 100-mile-an-hour fastball, a million times, or that knuckle curve, we can go into Trey Savage as well. The more people see Trey Savage, the easier it's going to be to just pick up the ball, to kind of get accustomed to that release point. It's the same thing with all of their bullpen arms in a 7-game series. So the fact that they didn't have to use Louis Varland, they didn't have to use Jeff Hoffman, 2 of their highest leverage relief arms. Again, that's why I said in the live stream, I didn't love that they used Gimenez. You had to do that in that moment because, again, it's a 2-2 baseball game. Like, it's a very close game. You don't know that you're going to score 9 runs in the 6th inning, but you still have 2 of your highest leverage relievers. And like you said, Louis Varland pitched a ton. So definitely nice to get them rested. One thing that I was a little bit confused about is why they threw Chris Bassitt in the 8th inning. I know this is like pretty much our setup man, it kind of seems like at this point, but I think, you're up 11-4. You're going to have to use Brendan Little. I know people aren't going to want to hear this, but you're up 7 runs. Maybe not the worst time to throw Brendan Little back into a game. See what he can give you. See if the confidence is completely shot. Because if Brendan Little couldn't perform in that game, maybe that's the nail in the coffin. Okay, we don't use Brendan Little. But if he showed you something there, I'm not saying you throw him in the 8th inning, but I'm saying, hey, if there's, somebody has a bad start, or maybe, there's a different situation where Shohei comes up, maybe not that one specifically, but like Freddie Freeman or Max Muncy or someone later in the order comes up, and you have to use Brendan Little for maybe just one lefty. That is an option that you could go to. So I was a little bit surprised they didn't at least extend the leash to Brendan Little a little bit to see what he's got.
I was really shocked too. Again, we were sitting on the couch and we were thinking, oh, it's Brendan Little time. It's Brendan Little time. Nope. And then to see Chris Bassitt go in, I was a little whatever. But you know what? I don't hate salting away a win either, right? You bring in Chris Bassitt, you're like, hey, we have this one in the bag right now. Let's make sure we leave with it. And so I don't know.
Even in the 9th inning, you go Lauer. Like, would you want Lauer over Little? Like, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But...
yeah, probably I'd want Lauer at this point. But okay. Yeah, okay. I get that one. Sure. I don't know. You know what? It came to a point where, hey, let's get somebody out there, get out of this game. We got it. Leave happy, and that's what we all did. You don't want to give the Dodgers any type of momentum after this game. So I don't hate it either, right? You shut down the offense after the Shohei Ohtani garbage time home run. So Yeah, I think you left this game exactly how you wanted to. So I really got to give the pitching staff who came in and were able to do jobs a little hat tip here. And I think, right, in saying that, let's talk a little bit. I know we talked yesterday a decent amount about Trey Yesavage, but let's talk a little bit about him on here too, Carter.
Yeah, we got to get into it. Not the greatest start from Trey Savage. We talked about it a little bit on the live stream here, but we'll really get into it on this podcast. Is the lack of the splitter usage today. And you saw it early on that Trey Savage really did not have the feel for the splitter, did not have the command for the splitter. It just wasn't really breaking. And when he would throw it, a lot of the time he was kind of spiking it into the dirt. So regularly, Trey Savage throws his splitter to about 26% of the time. That usually is his strikeout pitch. That's the pitch that he goes to again in an advantage count, plays off the fastball very well. And that's kind of his bread and butter, is that you go to that fastball, you go to the splitter. And that's why you saw some crazy swings from the Mariners, from the Yankees, from some of the Dodgers, honestly, throughout this lineup. More so on the slider, though, this time. But in this game, 38 fastballs, 32 sliders, 10 splitters. Through the splitter, only 13% of the time. Still relied on that fastball 48% of the time. But use the slider 40% of the time. So credit to Trey Savage when something isn't going well for you, which is going to happen in Major League starts. Ideally, it doesn't happen in the World Series. But against the Dodgers lineup with how good they are too, insane start from Trey Savage. I know that he gave up 2 runs in 4 innings, but that's exactly what this team needed. He battled in and out of trouble. He had multiple instances throughout this game where there was 2 runners on, 1 out in the second inning. And then I believe, was it bases loaded in the third inning? I think it might've got to that point, or at least it was 2 walks and then a Will Smith single to right field. So only allowing 1 run in that inning is absolutely massive as well. And just limiting damage and being able to battle back when you don't have your best stuff. So yeah, credit to Trey Savage for keeping the Toronto Blue Jays in that baseball game, because it was really one swing away from this outcome being completely different.
You're right. Yeah, nail on the head, Carter, right? We talk about pitchers not, you have your great starts that you absolutely go out there and you have everything working. And we say you get 30 starts a year. Say it's 10 great starts. You get 10 starts that are, it's pretty good. It's okay. And then you get 10 not so great starts where you don't have your best stuff. It's turning those bad starts where you don't have your best stuff into one of those mediocre starts that you can battle out, that you can work out of trouble, that you can find pitches that work and utilize those. And that's exactly what Trey Savage did. It wasn't the best day. I'm not going to lie to anybody, but it was good enough to get this job done. And that's what you need out of your starting pitching. Carter, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to tee up game 2 for everybody and tell you sort of what's going on for later tonight when you can see more of us, if that's what you want to do, right after this. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. And MLB World Series is here, but the NBA is also back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA as well. Even if you missed the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps games, the games you watch every single day, exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. I'm not a big NBA guy myself, but you know what? Last year, I got a little bit back into it because I did some betting on FanDuel, and it got me watching some of those again. I wanted to get back into it. I used to love basketball, and FanDuel really helped me do that. It helped me get back into it, know some guys, who's going to score where, who's a good guy to bet on, who's not. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So, Carter, time to tee up game 2. As good as game 1 was, it was exciting. It was awesome. The Blue Jays got the win. This series is not over. It's not close to over, and I don't want anybody thinking that. But they're in a good spot. If the Blue Jays can somehow go 2 up, leaving Toronto back to LA, they are in a fantastic position for this World Series. How are you feeling about game 2?
It's a big game, obviously, but we know even if the Toronto Blue Jays do win that game, a 2-0 series lead does not mean absolutely anything. You can even go back to the ALCS to figure that one out. But we obviously massive advantage. You win 2 games at home. You go to LA. Even if you lose 2 out of 3 in LA, you come back to the Rogers Center up 3-2. So just right there, that is massive. Ideally, you just completely finish them off in LA, and then you shock the world. And not a lot of people would have had that happening, but I'm sure that Rogers fans would be okay. Baseball fans, Toronto Blue Jays fans at the Rogers Center would be okay that if they didn't have a World Series celebration in front of them, if they wanted to do that at the Dodger Stadium, I'm sure a lot of fans would be okay with that. But it's obviously massive. The difference between 1-1 and 2-0, like If the Dodgers win this next game, it's a completely reset series. Ideally, you want to take 2 out of 3 at Dodger Stadium. I'm not sure if that happens. We'll have to obviously figure that out. But this team has been way better at home than they have been on the road. And you have Kevin Gausman on the mound. When you look at the next few games, you have a little bit more uncertainty there. So you got Kevin Gausman, debatably your most trusted starter on your roster. I know you got Yamamoto going tomorrow, but you had Blake Snell in this game before. Massive opportunity for the Toronto Blue Jays to take advantage. I think that a lot of people, if you go up 2-0, a lot of Dodgers fans would really start to feel the pressure if they're not already feeling it.
Yeah, and you know what? Kevin Gausman's stats in comparison to Yamamoto's are very similar. Yamamoto, 19.2 innings pitched. Gausman's got 18. ERA is 1.83 for Yamamoto, 2 for Kevin Gausman, 8.6 whip compared to a 1, 18 strikeouts compared to a 12, 4 walks compared to 8 walks. So the stats are very quite similar. Yes, there are obviously deviations, but it's very close. And I think that now that you have game 1, it gives you, everybody can exhale a little bit and be like, okay, we're here, we're settled. And that's something I think we didn't see in the first couple of innings. I think we saw everybody was a little bit tight. And yes, as good as the Toronto Blue Jays bats were able to become, I think as that game progressed, you saw it from everybody, a little bit of, and that's what you need from this team, is to be able to relax and play their game. So I'm very excited, Carter. And I'm very excited as well, because it is going to be an interesting night for all of you watching our live post-game reaction. We're doing a big watch party for the Toronto Blue Jays game in our small town that we're from. And we have a Halloween wedding social right after that. So we'll be costumed up, drinking a couple beers probably. And then you'll probably see very similar outcomes for the morning podcast that will come out Sunday. So hopefully we get to celebrate and go to this social very happy. That's what I'm praying for, my man. But it will be interesting for all of you guys to watch, I'm sure.
Oh, we're going to be excited. Yeah, we'll see what you guys feel, or how you guys feel about our costumes, but we're super excited for it. Again, game 2 of the World Series. Absolutely insane stuff. To end this episode off, though, I did want to go over the betting lines. And one thing I haven't done yet is I haven't gone and looked at some Dodgers reactions, maybe some analysts that some people were calling Vladimir Guerrero Jr. We might talk about this on the podcast. You did hear Vladdy Fatty getting thrown around. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. A lot of just Dodgers analysts kind of going on the Toronto Blue Jays, calling them a bunch of nobodies. Really kind of embracing that David versus Goliath thing that we talked about on this podcast. So I want to go after this episode, and that's what I'm going to do. So we go searching some Twitter, searching online, maybe some Instagram, maybe go on some TikTok. We'll see what happens. Look up Dodgers fan reactions and really see how they are feeling after the onslaught that really happened at the Rogers Center. But just going over these betting lines, just kind of how they were shifted. Before game number 1, the Los Angeles Dodgers, their line was set at -220 to win the World Series, and the Blue Jays were at +184. Now, after game 1, obviously the Toronto Blue Jays have, let's just say it, put belt to ass the Los Angeles Dodgers in the first game. Yeah, lots can happen as the series progresses. But now, the World Series winners, the odds are the Dodgers still favored at -116, but the Blue Jays at -102. So it is very close. It has come all the way back kind of together. I guess all it took was a 1-game advantage for the bettors and maybe sportsbooks to take the Toronto Blue Jays a little bit more seriously.
Sure. Yeah, that'll happen. I'm not surprised. I think you knew that this was going to be the case at some point. World Series. I mean, everybody can have the predictions all they want. It never turns out exactly what anybody thinks.
It could have been anyone against the Dodgers. Like, it could have been the Yankees. It could have been the Mariners. It could have been the Tigers, the Astros. It doesn't matter who it would have been.
Colorado Rockies.
Okay, well, I mean, that wouldn't happen, obviously. But maybe we'll go to the White Sox. No, the White Sox maybe found something in the American League Championship Series, and maybe they would give the Dodgers a run for their money. So besides the White Sox, we'll say any other team, the narrative would have been the exact same. It would have been that the Dodgers were the heavy favorites and the other team was going to have to battle. But not a lot of other teams could do what the Toronto Blue Jays did on Friday night against the Los Angeles Dodgers and Blake Snell and company, I guess. It wasn't just Blake Snell that got absolutely annihilated by this Toronto Blue Jays offense. Yeah,
I mean, again, I was going to say the Cleveland Guardians, but I'm like, this team is basically like 1/8 the Cleveland Guardians anyway. So that wouldn't have made sense either. So I want to thank you guys all for watching the podcast, tuning in on the weekend. We will bring you guys way more content as it comes later today, like with the live stream, and then Sunday morning we'll have another one, and then we're back to regularly scheduled programming all next week as well. So we hope you guys enjoy everything. We'll be back with you. Go Jays, go! 1 game up, baby.